It is 4:47 in the morning on the Western Front, autumn of 1917. You are standing chest-deep in a narrow channel of earth, the walls slick with clay and rainwater. The duckboards beneath your boots are submerged in ice-cold water that smells of rot and rust. Above you the sky is invisible, swallowed by a fog so dense it erases the world at arm's length. You cannot see the man beside you, you cannot see the wire. And then you hear it, a boot on wet earth, a breath that isn't yours. This was the reality that broke men not with bullets, but with silence, with blindness. Fog on the Western Front was not merely a weather event. It was a battlefield weapon, a psychological siege, and a survival crisis rolled into one. Welcome to Fieldcraft Chronicles. Tonight we go into the mist. The silent killer, fog as a weapon of war. By late 1914, the front had calcified into a vast system of interconnected ditches stretching over 700 kilometers. Survival depended on one irreplaceable asset, the ability to see what was coming. Fog stripped that away entirely. The German army had developed the terrifying practice of timing gas attacks to coincide with low-lying mist. Chlorine gas, first used at Ypres in April 1915, was heavier than air and pooled in the lowest points of the landscape, exactly where the trenches were. In foggy conditions it blended seamlessly with the mist, and by the time you registered the faint smell of cut grass or bleach, you had often already inhaled a lethal dose. Mustard gas, introduced in 1917, was worse still, settling on surfaces and skin for days, causing blindness and chemical burns, its presence in fog almost impossible to detect until it was far too late. Reading the ground fieldcraft in zero visibility. Experienced soldiers developed an almost preternatural fieldcraft in response to this constant threat of blindness. They called it trench sense, navigating their own lines in complete darkness by touch and memory alone, memorizing every duckboard, revetment post, and fire step by feel. Modern wilderness navigators call the same skill micro-terrain reading. In fog, a soldier who had done this work survived, one who hadn't became a liability. Sound discipline was equally vital. Units communicated by hand signals, felt rather than seen, and listened for the creak of enemy kit, the click of a bolt being drawn, the specific exhale of a man trying not to be heard. Shelter, food, water, and the will to endure. The trench was, honestly, a masterpiece of improvised fieldcraft. Soldiers built what they called funk holes and dugouts from salvaged timber, corrugated iron, and sandbags, packing the floors with straw or even empty sandbags as thermal insulation, using, really, the same dead air space principle as modern debris sheltering. Food was chronically inadequate. Official rations of tinned beef, biscuit, and jam frequently failed to arrive during fighting, leaving men to survive on whatever they carried with them. Water was the more acute crisis, though. The shell-churned landscape of Flanders was a contaminated swamp, and drinking untreated groundwater meant typhoid. Soldiers collected rainwater from dugout roofs using improvised guttering cut from ammunition tins and boiled every drop over hooded braziers, hooded so an open flame didn't invite a sniper's bullet. That absolute discipline around water purity, well, it saved thousands of lives. Camouflage, hygiene, and staying human. WWI snipers represent perhaps the most sophisticated individual fieldcraft of their era, trained in dedicated schools by 1916 in the use of ghillie suits and the art of stillness. Concealment extended to every aspect of trench life. Fires kept deep and smokeless, movement only after dark, periscopes improvised from shaving mirrors. Meanwhile, trench foot was managed through enforced daily foot inspection and whale oil, reducing casualties not through medicine but through routine. Lice were burned from clothing seams by candlelight, a process called chatting, which, interestingly, gave us the modern word. And morale, maintained through small rituals of tea and cards, was itself a survival skill. Modern psychology calls it micro-recovery. These men called it keeping your chin up. The fog lifts what these men teach us today. The men who survived the Western Front were not supermen. They were farm boys and factory workers thrown into conditions no human had faced before. What separated those who endured from those who did not was adaptability, the willingness to learn the environment, read it and use it. They built shelter from what the earth gave them, found water and made it safe, and cared for their feet, their kit, and each other. The fieldcraft of the Great War Soldier is not a historical curiosity. It is a manual. A final word from Fieldcraft Chronicles. History is not just something that happened. It is a library of human solutions to human problems, and it is waiting to be read. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles for weekly deep dives into historical survival, wilderness skills, and the forgotten fieldcraft of history's most extraordinary soldiers. Share this video with anyone who values self-reliance, preparedness, and the art of staying alive, and because this knowledge belongs to all of us. Stay observant, stay prepared, stay curious. Fieldcraft Chronicles, history, survival, fieldcraft,